It's definitely put as like the benchmark of success. Like when I can quit my job, when I can go full time, I've made it.
Don't quit your day job just because you feel pressured by other wedding filmmakers to quit your day job. I don't think you should quit your day job until you can make sure you've cast aside the thought that you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
We actually do work. I mean, we might sit down, forget everything we talked about, and ramble for an hour, but we do pre-plan some of this.
I'ma get right in my bag. Why you gonna try to get mad? Everybody wanna keep up. Don't you know I move too fast? I'ma zip right past. Drip all on my swag.
Hey guys, welcome to the Wedding Film School show. We got an awesome episode today. It's Bobby and I, and we're going to be talking to you guys about something I think many people don't want to hear, which is don't quit your day job. So Bobby, how long have you been a full-time wedding filmmaker?
Well, I maybe what we should start with is how do you define what full-time is? Like, what does that mean to you? I know kind of my personal thing. I think we kind of agree on it too, but
pretty much, I think for this episode, just so we can have a common definition, what we mean by full-time is you quit your other job, or you're working like 34, 40 hours a week. Like, I think I guess you could be full-time in two jobs, but you're doing more than just shooting weddings, and then, you're kind of like doing the day-to-day. But in general, we mean you quit your other job. And which is why we called it Don't Quit Your Day Job, because we want to talk in this episode about, I think, some reasons why you may not want to go full-time in wedding filmmaking. And just, I think it's like this dream a lot of people have, and it's a good dream. And I think it's almost like it's been kind of put in our industry. How many times have you seen this question in a Facebook group? Like, oh, when should I go full-time? And all this, like, it seems like a big ideal people have.
It's definitely put as like the benchmark of success. Like when I can quit my job, when I can go full-time, I've made it. That's the end all. That's like the paradise, though, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow or whatever. And we've both done that. We both love that decision. But I think, today we just want to talk about hey, there are plenty of reasons not to do that.
Well, and in full disclosure, Bobby, I still have another job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do not. But, you asked me how long I've been full-time. I would consider myself full-time. I mean, I was basically full-time when I was in college, but I was also a student. And then I got out of college, and that was my only job. And then, in kind of a weird thing, I took this job working 2 days a week in exchange for a place to live. I just had this weird scenario, but it worked out really well, and it was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And I did get a paycheck from that. Oh, yeah, pizza delivery, exactly. I lived in the pizza truck, so it was cool. In the kitchen, actually.
Cowabunga.
No, just this totally random thing, but, it was got to live in a place pretty close to the beach, and I wasn't going to complain, so. But, I would still consider myself full-time through that. I was technically working something else, but all my effort was put into, my business and whatnot. So
Yeah, maybe a way we want to say it is full-time is when the core of your financial life is dependent on wedding filmmaking.
You don't have a $30,000 to $100,000 salary to fall back on. Basically, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yep. And so that's why I would consider myself, even though I have another job, I would consider myself full time. I make most of my revenue from wedding filmmaking. I give both jobs a lot of time, but I give wedding filmmaking maybe slightly more because it just demands more, especially in season, especially this freaking crazy year.
Yeah.
but in general, let's talk about some reasons, because I want to kind of maybe talk someone off a ledge, maybe make somebody feel a little better. And also, the other thing that I think that isn't talked about a lot is a lot of people that are trying to go full-time or have gone full-time might be thinking in their head, I don't really have enough work. I'm shooting 20 hours a week. I'm just kind of I could go do something else. And they maybe don't want to because they don't want to make it look like they're failing or unsuccessful.
Yeah. There can be a pride aspect, and I don't like that. I don't buy into that personally. But
for many of you guys, being bivocational is actually going to be the perfect fit. And I want to just set you free that you don't need to feel this pressure to go full time. If you love, I don't know, you're a kindergarten teacher, You love teaching kindergarten. You want to shoot some weddings, outsource all your edits. You shouldn't have to quit doing something you love.
Yeah, I mean, like you can find things where, like, you know, I think, let's be real here. Like I've done this 15 years, but I don't know, you know, I want to do it for a long time, but you don't always know. Like, I don't know, what if when I'm 50, like I'm not like you guys running, you know, a variety of teams where I could totally remove myself, and I might head that direction as I, you know, get older and whatever, but there might be a point where, you know, I'm not the cool new videographer or what. I mean, I'm not new anymore, but like I don't connect with the demographic anymore and stuff like that. Like there are things that can just happen. And so, you know, I've always been a big fan of too, like I sometimes want, like I've thought about like so I love making coffee, and I'm like, I would love to go work at a coffee shop one day a week or something. Yeah. Where like it's not what I'm depending on, but if it's something I like want to learn more about, and I just like, you know,
and get
honestly,
paid a little bit.
Yeah, so ninja stuff, right? I technically have worked at the ninja gym that I train at. I don't have a consistent schedule, but I'll fill in for people because I'm like, yeah, I'll go teach a class and make $100 or something. Like, I mean, it's just kind of fun money. It's, you know, 99.999% of my money comes from weddings, but like, it's something I'm interested in and want to learn more about. I want to teach other people. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything bad about working something else, and I think that there is this like negative connotation with it, and I don't think
like
that's
you failed.
Yeah, or like you're not quite there yet, and I hate that mindset. I've had that, you know, people kind of put that on me in other aspects of life, and I think it's like the worst thing ever. So,
well, let's think about this. What is like a common person who might be starting out in wedding filmmaking, and like a journey they might have? Like, obviously most people who start wedding filmmaking have other jobs, right? They're not students. Yep. They're probably people who have other jobs. They decided
doing it on the side, on the
do
weekend.
It on the side. Kind of paint the picture of the typical bivocational person.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, you know, somebody is in their career path or just a job, right? And my guess is there's somebody who is inherently creative and they're just not getting fulfilled like that at work. You know, typically what happens is you have some video experience. I think that. I'd be curious to know what you think. I think some people are interested in video. They mess around, make little films at home, whatever, do daily vlogs, whatever it might be. And a friend asks them,
oh, come and help out.
Exactly. Like, it's either somebody who's like, hey, do you want to come help me shoot this wedding? Or a friend that's like, hey, I'm getting married. I literally can't afford a videographer.
I know you have a camera.
Exactly. I know you have a camera. I'll give you a food. I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll give you $200 or something like that. So, you know, and what ultimately happens, like what happens with a lot of us, I think this is how we start out, is like you kind of fall in love with it, you know? You love shooting a wedding and creating a film, and even though you create something that's probably hot garbage, like I did for my first film, which you can see on this channel, and you can see Jason and Jared's first film too, and our reactions to it. But like, they love it, right? And it's so, you know, you feel, it's gratifying to feel like somebody loves what you created. And it
which
feeds
is
into
very
that creative
different than
side.
I think a lot of people's jobs.
Oh yeah, like you do not get, you know, commended usually for creativity outside of probably some career paths,
or even just
sure,
doing your job. Like you can just show up at a wedding film and just do your job. You're not even being that creative, and the people are going to be like, wow, they're going to give you so much feedback. So I think a lot of people do enjoy that, and maybe that's like sprinkling that into their life makes their life a lot more fulfilling. And then the other side of it that I think we didn't mention is they realize they can actually make a lot of money. And basically, like let's be realistic.
Well, I want to say they probably initially do that math wrong. That's
probably.
I think you don't account for a lot of the costs of doing it. And the
well,
expenses,
the issue is like, if you have another job, it doesn't feel like it costs as much.
That's actually that's a good point.
That's what we're going to talk about later. Why you don't want to quit your day job, but like initially,
to be clear, you can make a lot of money.
You can, but it is. I run other business ventures. Wedding filmmaking is very profitable.
Yep.
Like the cost
very big margins.
The margins are great, and you start realizing like, oh man, I haven't been able to afford to go to the Caribbean in the summer, but now if I just do 10 of these, I can go to the Caribbean.
You look at it in weddings, you're like, oh, You know what I really want is, I don't know,
An OLED,
whatever.
a 65-inch OLED. That's only one wedding.
That's only half a wedding.
Yeah.
I could do it.
Yeah, and so people...
the downside is if you want to go to the Caribbean in the summer, you can pay for it now. You just don't have the time, so...
Yes. You know what? I go to the Caribbean almost every summer as a wedding filmmaker.
Well, good on you.
From Monday to Friday.
Yeah, there you go.
So, like, I'll leave on a Sunday.
And then which day of those 5 do you shoot a wedding out there?
I would. You know what? I almost never. I've only shot in the Caribbean a couple times. But anyway, I think that's a typical person. They fall in love with it.
Yeah.
Then they start learning about the money. And then they start, I think the natural progression is, wow, I could charge double for this. And I could book.
I could charge $400 for this. But it's very much seen like fun money. Yeah,
Yes.
even especially at that point.
Yeah, they're getting 2,000 and they're seeing people charging 4 or 5, and they're like, "Oh, I could do that. I'm as good as them." And so I think that's when the full-time conversation starts to come in their head, like, "Oh, I could be making 5,000 times 25, right?
Yeah.
Like if only I had more time to put into this business, right? Yeah. And like, oh, what's holding me back? This job, this day job, or like, oh,
I don't have the time.
They don't appreciate me at my day job. Like I feel like, or just like, I love doing this. I only want to do this. And I think none of those are bad reasons. Like all of them are perfectly legitimate reasons to want to be a full-time wedding filmmaker. And I think for many of you, you should do that. You should go down that path. You should go full-time. You should quit your day job. But I want to kind of just put a little doubt in your mind so that you're thinking about it the right way. So let's talk a little bit about why someone might not want to actually quit their day job.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of reasons. I know one of the things that really pops into my mind immediately is like, I think when you have that day job, you have that security, and there is a difference between making $2,000 or $1,200 or $4,000 on a wedding when you have a consistent paycheck that you have lived off of up until a certain point. When you switch over to full time and that is your sole source of income, there's a lot that comes along with that, a lot of pressures that come along with that, and yeah, it has to be a calculated decision. You have to be smart about it.
Yeah, I think a person needs to really, really, really think through their most importantly, their financial situation.
Yep.
And that's when the math needs to really start happening of like the margin to actually run the business, right? Mm-hmm. Because every business needs to be financed. Like that's the thing people don't think of. You're starting a small business, right? Yep. And when you start your small business, when you have another job, you are your own investor, right? So you're taking the money from your other job and you're investing it in your new venture, Bobby Burns Wedding Filmmaking. Mm-hmm. And so Bobby Burns Wedding Filmmaking has profit from his other job, and he's dumping it in there. And when maybe the money's lean, say it's November, it's not crazy booking season, you're not shooting a ton of weddings, but you need a new camera body. The combination of the money you made in August from your wedding filmmaking plus the money you make in your normal job, it all adds up. Literally, like with my business, with wedding filmmaking, especially in the Northeast, I'm sure it's the same way for you. Maybe people in other countries have different cycles, but in the Northeast, we're very seasonal, 4 seasons, right? We pretty much don't shoot any weddings from about January to March. Which is nuts.
I shoot very few in Minnesota during that time. I'll shoot in California usually.
But regardless.
Every now and then, adventurous bride and groom.
But in general, it's almost none. People just don't do it. It's crazy. It's seasonal. And so we make money from new bookings in January and February. March, we make almost no money. Like, basically. Yeah. Maybe we make
a little bit
here and there. But in general, our average bookings right now, I think we're booking 10 to 20 a month. Who knows next year? Next year could be totally crazy. But in general, these booking cycles happen, right? Well, right now you have another job. Bobby Burns, pizza delivery guy, has another job full-time. He's one of the top in his field at pizza delivery.
Fastest 5 minutes, hot and fresh.
He's killing it.
Or your money back.
And he has this other job. And so you have to really think through, can I handle seasonal dips in income? Am I good with, and like, this is a hard discussion, right, Bobby? Because
it's a very different lifestyle, or not even lifestyle, but it's a different approach.
You have to
you don't
have
get
like
a paycheck every 2 weeks or week or whatever. I don't know.
The discussion I had with with Jared yesterday about our own finances. I said,
with your Jared or with our
my
Jared?
Our Jared.
Okay.
In this case, it was my Jared because of the money. But I said, listen, I need 3.5 months of payroll saved in my bank account by the time December hits. If I don't have that, this is what I have to do and where I have to get the money from.
Yeah.
And like, those are the discussions you're having that you don't have when you have another job.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you suck with money, you might not want to do it. Like,
or like partner up with somebody who doesn't suck with money.
Sure.
Or
get a CPA.
I mean, you can change too. Yeah. You can
there are
work ways, but
or
be
you can,
very honest with yourself, I think, is the big takeaway from that.
The first reason you might not want to go is because you don't want to get into, like, you don't really want to run a business. You want to create art. And that's, I think, the first reason. If you, in your head, if I start talking to you about spreadsheets, calling people back on time, like, if your eyes just start
email sequences, like, well, I mean, so let's roll that into something else, which is, I think you have to do this stuff even if you're, so I think this is kind of a combination thing, right? You have to do a lot of those things even if you have another job, but your livelihood doesn't depend on it because you get a paycheck, so whatever.
Yes.
So another good reason, and this kind of rolls into that, to not go full time is, and combined with the fact that that is your sole source of income, then is you have to wear a lot of hats doing this job. And there is so much more to it than creating art. And, that's what draws most of us in. Most people get into this because they like the creative, the art side. And there are plenty of people who hate the business side or are terrible at the business side and might fail because of it or don't plan for it.
Lose everything because
or run a terrible business that could be great, I mean, so just acknowledging the amount of roles that you have to play, and especially in the beginning. I think you can plan from the beginning, if you do it right, to outsource all the stuff you don't want to do. But I think for a lot of people, myself included, in the beginning, and we've kind of talked about this in some aspects like editing and stuff like that, of like, you probably have to, or you probably should play a lot of those roles for some amount of time so that you understand them.
Yeah, it becomes emotionally very different when you go full time. And I think the emotional part is what I want to get to. I think another reason you don't want to go full time is you just don't want to pay the emotional and relational price of what it means to have to depend on this money. Going full time is not about shooting more weddings necessarily. It could be, but there are people who are part time. Like, you can work another job and shoot 20 weddings.
Oh yeah,
it's going full time is about putting your all and everything into it and getting rid of all the safety nets. And it's making it so that you are dependent on this money. And I want everyone who's making this decision to think through that part, not think through, do I only want to make wedding filmmaking or do I hate my job? But do I want to depend on wedding filmmaking as my sole source of income and way of life? Every day I eat, breathe, sleep. Will it destroy my relationship with wedding filmmaking? All that. These are emotional decisions. Because you talked about your Saturday. Think about your Saturdays right now. Like, if you're not full time and somebody calls you on a wedding on a Saturday and you want to go to your friend's cookout, what are you going to say?
I mean, so hold
if you're
on.
Not full time.
If you are?
No.
Yeah.
You're going to be like,
you're going to say,
yeah, you're going to go, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be there.
Yeah, probably. And if somebody
this
calls.
Saturday? Oh yeah. I do have a wedding, but it's not for 3 months. So yeah. You want to hang out next Saturday too?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, if you're in full-time wedding filmmaking, this is anyone who asks me about a Saturday from May to October, I say, probably not.
Yeah.
Can we do it on another day?
You didn't even check your calendar. Yeah, I just know though. So
yeah, it's probably not. I probably can't,
And that is a little bit different for you guys. Like, I occasionally have a weekend off.
I normally do, But the issue is like, I don't know.
I don't know which one it's going to be.
I don't know till the month of.
Yeah.
So,
or like right now, I'm trying to plan a cabin trip with some friends. They want to go over a weekend because most of them work, normal jobs.
Normal people.
Yeah. And like, of course, right? Of course this happens. We're working through a few different weekends. I'm basically the reason that we can't do any of these weekends so far. We land on, I think it's Labor Day or something like that. Literally an hour and a half later, I get an inquiry for that Saturday.
And it's not a small amount of money.
No, yeah. Like, I don't want to say no to, I don't know what it'll be. $5,000, $6,000, whatever. Like,
you have
of course I don't want to say no to that. That's my livelihood. And especially this year, like, weddings are down, for me at least.
You have to say yes sometimes. It just is what it is. And it's like, that is not, I think anybody can do this for 1 year, 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
But the more you do it, the more you're like, well, this kind of is a pretty, like, I'm not saying it's not worth it.
Nope.
But it's a heavy price to pay. And emotionally.
You just got to be aware of it.
Yes. It affects your relationships. It affects what you're able to do. It affects every part of your life becomes centered around trying to jam stuff in from 6 o'clock to midnight from Monday to Friday and not spend any of your Saturday. And it's like, it's just how it is. And it's like, for you as a person, if you're sitting there like, should I go full time or should I quit my day job? And I would say, hey, don't quit your day job. If when you think about your life, you can't imagine it without the social life you currently have.
Yeah, it will change. So I think one of the things is you have to be, and this is something that I've kind of leaned into maybe more recently, and I didn't do well for a long time. It's like you have to be a lot more intentional with those relationships because, I have friends who I see pretty often. The ones I see the most are self-employed. The ones I see the most, I can call up on a Tuesday afternoon and go for a run, right? The ones who work a 9 to 5 and have weekends off, I'll see them more in the winter months, but during the summer, I don't see them a lot unless I'm really intentional about that. Unless I say, hey, I do have this random Saturday off. Let's hang out.
Yep.
So
when you have kids too, it's even another level.
I can't imagine.
It's and I think it really does. Like, I do want to say this, just because you're a full-time wedding filmmaker, if you're thinking about doing it, I don't think you have to have no boundaries. Like, I think it's fine to say, like, because I do this almost every summer, Bobby. I'm like, I'm not working this Saturday. Do not schedule me. Whatever happens, the answer is no.
I've had that.
Unless it's like over 12 grand or some crazy wedding where I might be like, tell me about something crazy, because if there's enough money involved, then I can. Yeah. I have money.
Everybody has a price. Everybody has a price.
But in general, it's like, hey, I'm probably not going to be doing anything. I'm going to be going here. Like, you still need to do that stuff.
Yeah, that's important.
It's not going to all consume your life, but it will. I think it's just the emotional pressure, though. It's interesting because it's people are like, oh, I need more time off. I don't think most wedding filmmakers don't get enough time off. I think
I would have kind of a counterpoint to that, but I want you to finish here.
I think what they don't do is they're not like their time off is like all this weird time where everyone else is working. Yeah. So like
that's true.
They're not processing like actually you had tons of time off, but it was like weird solo time by yourself.
From like 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and nobody could hang out and you're not going to go to a bar. Like, what are you going to do? Sit on your couch?
Your kids are at school. Like, all the things that so like what it is you actually become a weird, like, it's like you're a bartender or like a stripper or something. Like, you have this like lifestyle.
Or a pizza delivery man, let me tell you.
Or you have this lifestyle that doesn't connect with the people in your life. Yeah. And it pulls you out of relationships and you have to work much harder. And for some of you guys, that's not going to be good for your mental health. It's not going to be good for your relationships. Going full time might not be worth it.
Yeah. So I have one counter thing that I would like to say. You said, you think people do get time off, and I agree with that. I agree with the assessment that it is. I think every now and then we can say, hey, I am not working this weekend. I don't care. Unless it's, 20 grand or something. But for the most part, I'm not working this weekend. But we do get a lot of random odd hours off. Mm-hmm. But I would also say, I have this conversation with friends a lot, right? Because I'll text them at 10:30 a.m. and be like, hey, sorry I missed your call, I just woke up. And they're like, I hate you, like, you get to sleep in or something, right? and I don't have kids, so that makes a difference in that. But like, I also feel like, yes, there are absolutely pros, just like there are cons, but like, do I get time off? Yes, there is time where I am not editing or doing emails or whatever, but my brain is on the clock 24/7. Like, I can't tell you the last time where I have taken like a vacation where I'm fully on vacation.
Oh yeah.
Like if I get an email, I'm like an inquiry, I'm responding to that inquiry within a few hours, and it doesn't matter if I'm on vacation or like, my brain is always working for me, which is good for my business and sometimes terrible for my personal well-being or something. You know what I mean? And that's that emotional investment that you get to when you're full-time.
Yeah, if you don't like feeling stressed about this job, going full-time is the worst decision you could ever make. Now, I do think there are other, we'll talk about in the next episode, because if you're listening to this, we're going to do another episode of why you should go full-time. And I think one of the benefits of going full-time is if you are really stressed because you literally just don't have time to do the job of being a wedding filmmaker and running the business, going full-time might relieve some of that stress in terms of like just time. So the time thing, I think, isn't the real issue. I think the issue is like, because you're dependent on the money, because there's ego involved, and like, it's you now. It's like, you probably told people you're quitting your job and you don't want to look like a loser. Yeah. Like all this stuff that goes into it. Emotional things, relational things. Because of that, like you said, you're always on.
Yeah.
You're always on. I'm not a person that finds it like stressful, or actually I enjoy when I go on vacation, sitting down and doing a little bit of emails.
Yeah, that's like honestly way. Like that's like maybe my like that might be like kind of my vacation there.
Yeah.
Like I'm not somebody who likes to just sit still forever and lay on a beach. Like I was in Jamaica for a wedding actually, but turned it into like a longer shoot or a longer trip, vacation, whatever. And I'm there and I'm like, I kind of want to just take a break and go do emails. Because the thing is that I know if I have inquiries where I have stuff I need to attend to, or that might, honestly, what might cost me money, right? I don't respond to an inquiry in time. They book somebody else, whatever. Like, I can't enjoy my day or my vacation or whatever knowing that. Like, that's going to be in the back of my head and it's going to just drive me nuts until I take care of it.
That's an interesting thing, because it's like, I haven't really I've always run my business like I was full-time.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say that people who aren't full-time don't experience this. And so this is why, like, I would say probably many of you should go down that journey, because if you're sitting there and you're like, this is how I feel already, except I have to do another job too, right? Like, I'm literally can't focus and I have another job, you know? If that's where you are, maybe it's time to go full time. But like, I do imagine that there are some people who like, they're shooting 10 weddings a year. They love it. It's a lot of fun. They're not having to hustle too much to get the leads they're getting, and they're not feeling ton of pressure.
It's comfortable.
Feels good. Everything about the wedding filmmaking, like, I'm sure there are people shooting 10 weddings a year making 40 grand. And like, they're not having to do much to get it. They're not investing in their marketing. They're just kind of doing it, and whatever comes in, and that's great. And if you're in a place where you're just like, everything about it is working and you're super happy with the art you're making and the money you're making on the side is awesome, like, you could be having $100,000 job and making an extra 40. And like, if that's where you're at, and when I start saying like, do you want to risk all that money plus add a bunch of stress to it? You're like, oh wait, no, I don't really want to do that.
Well,
that's a legitimate reason not to become a wedding filmmaker.
That's the thing.
Full
is
time.
Like, if you have another job, you can live off that salary, you enjoy that job. I think that's important too.
That is important.
It brings you joy in some way. And you are doing 10 weddings, making 40 grand. You basically, you can find yourself in this position that's really important to acknowledge, which is the wedding filmmaking is not about the money for you. And that's a pretty nice spot to be. And what it allows you to do is it allows it to be fully 100% about the art. And that is why most of us get into it.
Or just fun in general. Because, like, maybe,
I guess.
Maybe you're not
maybe
thinking
you love
through, like,
doing emails. I don't know. But
maybe you barely do the emails. Maybe you do a sucky job with all that crap and you still book 10 weddings. Like, like maybe you're just good and you like having 40 grand. You're paying for your kids, like, college.
It can be because of extra money. But
it's
I'm
just
saying,
fun.
like, I think it's one of the unique scenarios until you get later in your career where you can actually, in the beginning stages, which many people can't do, is make it about what you create only and create what you want. I think a lot of people early on, and then a lot of people too in the middle stages of that career until you get later, charge a higher price, dial in your look, have people come to you because they like what you're making, whatever. You know, a lot of people find themselves in this situation where it is about making art. It is about creating what you want, but there's some amount of leaning into what the client wants, booking a wedding that you're not maybe that excited about. You know, there is, when you're full time, there is this
it's business.
Sometimes there is a business side of it where it can't be fully I want to create this.
I would say 1 out of 4 to 5 times a year, my thought is, I have this great idea for this wedding.
Yep.
Every other
couple,
time,
it's the right venue, it's whatever.
Yeah, and maybe that's you come with experience. So like initially, this is not possible. Like I know what I want to make and I can't. Right?
Yeah.
You can't do. The couple is not like into each other. The day is very tight or stressful. The location sucks. Who knows?
Could be anything.
Very rarely do I think about anything but I am showing up and doing my job. I want these people to be happy customers, enjoy their experience with me, and pay their bill.
Yep.
And I don't want this to take too long to edit. The end.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
Like that.
It doesn't cause me.
It doesn't mean
any
it doesn't mean you're
negative
making a bad product.
No, and it doesn't make me less satisfied.
Yep.
I'm satisfied because I make money. So like I'm happy with a couple times as a professional artist for many years in my life. I've done art that I didn't get paid for, and I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like now I get to do things where every once in a while, like, and this is being mature, by the way. Like I think immaturity is thinking everything should be satisfying. That is the definition of immaturity. Every meal should be like my kid thinks every meal should be donuts. It's like no.
Have you tried it though? I mean, I don't know.
Some meals are just going to be good for you, and they're going to sustain you, and then you get to have dessert, and like that's part of what makes that dessert extra delicious. And I think the same thing comes with art is like moderation, and like sometimes you just got to do a job, and then you get these things, and if you stick with it long enough, you'll kind of learn to identify them. That will inspire you, and it'll be awesome. And if that sounds great to you, then maybe it's time to go full time. But if you literally are like, and I know people like this, like if a couple calls in who aren't their vibe, like shooting with them feels like they're being punished for something.
Yeah.
That's not how I feel, but that's how some people feel.
Like it could, I think, there are people where it's like, if it is a really stressful wedding or the couple's just not super into each other, like we've all been there. It doesn't mean they don't love each other. It doesn't mean they shouldn't be married. They're just not very publicly affectionate or whatever. Yeah. Like, that they feel like they're being punished. I mean, those could be something where they're like, I want to quit weddings. Yeah. Like that's how much it can impact people.
Mm-hmm. The other side that maybe, so I've refunded 2 things this year. Mm-hmm. One of them because we missed a delivery date on a teaser, and one of them because a live stream didn't go well, and I wasn't happy with them paying for it. I was just like, didn't
feel right.
Yeah, and so live stream is hard, but whatever.
Yeah.
One of the people were like, yeah, sure, cool. The other person literally emails us still like every week about some other thing about this stupid live stream. They had all these, they literally had 3 other videographers there, by the way. So we couldn't even see anything.
That's weird.
There was things about it that weren't our fault. But,
yeah.
But I'm not going to go and I'm just going to be professional, right?
Yep,
and I just have to keep sucking it up. I had to give them like $2,000 back.
Yeah.
And I'm also have to deal with the stress of this lady. I had to call my lawyer, make them sign a non-defamatory agreement if we gave them the money back, all this junk. If that sounds like hell to you, it sounds like it's not
stay
fun.
Part-time doing the weddings that you love with the couples that you love. Like, I mean, don't you think that's kind of what it boils down to? Is like, look, if you want to just shoot weddings, don't quit your day job. If you don't want to run a business, an actual, like, you don't get to be like, oh, I'm a business. Like, you either are a business or you aren't, right? And if you don't want to do that, if that does not sound fun to you, if stuff like that, like accounting, like all these things, emails, all these things that aren't creative doesn't sound fun to you, full-time might not be the like light at the end of the tunnel. It might not be what you should be working towards.
I think there's another reason why you wouldn't want to quit your day job. And I think it really comes down to the fact that now there's more resources than ever to actually support your business that aren't you, that you can build into your sales. Like you might make way more money and do just as good of a job and not have to do any of the stuff you don't like if you're willing to build into your business, like your wedding business, the cost to have other people do it for you. You don't necessarily need to edit a single wedding film. You don't need to do any of your accounting. You can have lawyers handle these things for you. You can hire a virtual assistant. You can literally just show up and only shoot weddings.
Yeah, if that's what you love.
Here's
another
business model for that.
Take of that too is, hey, if you're we kind of talked about this, I think, in another podcast. Like, some people are shooters, some people are editors, some people are both. But like I identify more as a shooter, right? I can edit. I've edited hundreds of wedding films, and they've turned out great. But I enjoy shooting more, I guess is what I would say.
Well, it's like, where do you feel at home?
Yeah, exactly. So, there's always another option too, which is, hey, there's multiple. Can I partner up with somebody else who likes handling the business side of stuff, who likes doing the editing? Or could I just be a lifelong second shooter? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. If you just want to show up, be creative for 8 hours, 10 hours, get your fill of, people and social and shoot and whatever, and get paid $500, $800, whatever. Or, be a lead shooter, get paid $1,200, whatever. I don't know, whatever it is. Like, that is an absolutely, like, there is nothing wrong with that, and you might get fulfilled in that way.
It's never been easier to outsource.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate, like, you could literally shoot. We have an editing studio, and we have several wedding filmmakers who are very good. Some people might know who don't edit any of their wedding films.
Yeah.
And they're still good.
I edit some of mine.
Yeah.
Of mine.
They might edit like 4 or 5 of them. The ones that they want to release and market. And so they've added their free time back. Some of them I know just do some other things financially.
Yeah.
They might want to do commercial, who knows? Like, it's never been easier or better there's a whole entire industry now there to support you in your venture of not quitting your day job. You can keep your day job, outsource all your edits. You literally, maybe you talk to your clients, maybe you go to some networking events, pay for a little marketing, but like, other than that, you might not even have to answer emails. And,
that could actually be that solution. So if you're at that point, and we're going to talk about this in the next, podcast about reasons to go full-time of, one of those reasons could be, hey, I'm at my day job. Maybe I like it, maybe I don't, but I'm out of time, right? I'm feeling that stress. I'm feeling I'm hitting that ceiling. I've grown to this point. I can't grow further because I don't have the time. A very viable path to take is outsourcing your edits, outsourcing accounting. Like, there are things to outsource, and I think that too has this negative connotation, like, oh, nobody can edit like I can, which for 99.9% of people, like, I'm sorry, brutal honesty time, that's not true.
Well, it's like, do you think somebody with 3 kids screaming who's getting home at 6 and editing for 2 hours, picking it up,
and
putting
there
it
are
down?
a very select few people who I think that does apply to, and even some of those people can still outsource some parts, right? So if you are feeling that pressure, the next step might not be quit my day job and go full time. The next step might be, all right, let's work smarter within my business and keep my day job. There's no right or wrong. Neither of those is 100% the right way for everybody.
Well,
or
the key is the only solution for your problem of I don't have time, I need to quit my day job, is no longer I have to quit my day job.
Yeah.
Like there didn't used to be these resources.
Yeah.
Now you can be like, oh, I no longer have time. I'm going to raise my prices $500 and I'm going to outsource my edits. I'm going to find an editing partner like No Backlog or someone like that. And I'm going to send my edits there. And that's going to be that. By the way, side note, all these editing studios, if you want to get your edits done by December, like you need to start submitting your edits right now. This year is crazy. I'm hearing like 40 to 100% more volume. You need to submit your edits now. Like with our editing studio, I'm telling people like, I need your schedule at the beginning of the season. Like, but that's a side note. These people exist and they can do a great job, and you don't need to just quit your job. You can keep that salary, and instead of just, maybe you want to go, oh, well, I just can't take any more weddings, so they can't handle any more editing. Yeah. Well, no, if you could take 5 more weddings if you didn't have to do any of the editing, and that would add a lot more revenue. And
the other thing too is you don't have to outsource. I think if you outsource accounting, you're kind of outsourcing accounting. But editing, you can pick and choose, right? Yep. You can say, hey, I want to outsource half my edits. Or, these next 3 weddings, I think I'm going to outsource them. But this one, it's a destination wedding. Like, I definitely want to be a part of that start to finish. I'm going to edit that one.
I would think most people really only need to edit if they are a great editor who actually brings something to the table. Unless people are paying a certain price where it's like, I am expecting Alex Douglas to edit my film, right? Most people only need to really edit to keep their brand voice alive, maybe 20% of their films. I think, or in maybe even just teasers, to be honest. But I think ultimately, you aren't as essential to your business as you think, probably. And it's never been easier.
That should maybe be its own podcast. You aren't as essential to your business as you think.
Well, I mean, we always say irreplaceable person.
It's true, though. It just is. And, you mentioned that, maybe you only have to edit your teasers or 20% of your weddings or something. I don't even know that you have to do all that. I would almost say you might only have to edit truly what you're marketing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I bet you're only
how many teasers do I market hardcore? 3, 4, 5 a year? How many weddings?
Most people I see
not a lot,
are only marketing 5. If they do 20, only 5 of them are heavily marketed.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking about what lives on my website right now. My 2 first films that you see on my website, one of them is 3 years old, and one of them is a year and a half or 2 years or something like that. So you can get longevity out of I still think those are great wedding films. I still think they are attracting the clients that I want to attract. And, I've thought about replacing them with a film from this year or last year, whatever, but those still are my heavily marketed films.
We have shot since May, I think 60, 70 weddings.
Yeah.
We have released 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That sounds about right for me.
That's what it is.
I mean, not those numbers, but that's kind of how I operate.
We that's how a lot of people operate, and it's because we're well, this, you show what you want to grow type thing, and not to say our other couples aren't amazing. It's just we have a certain, and we don't want to overwhelm. And we have a certain thing we want to communicate. We have a brand voice, and that's what's important. And you're thinking like a business owner, but I don't think you don't have to quit your day job. You can keep this other source of income and still run your business. And I think this is the number one reason, I think, not to quit your day job. Because the other things are you might still be experiencing the stress, even though you have a day job. You might still be experiencing some of the repercussions and the emotional problems. And you might still be running into the time issues. You might still have all the same issues with your day job. This issue right here of being able to just calmly make less profit off your business and not have to replace it. Mm-hmm. Or by replacing it, you just say, and I'll just shoot 4 more weddings.
Yeah.
But I've freed up tons more time. because I'm not doing. That is unique to a bivocational person, and it's a great perk, and it's something I would deeply consider before you made the switch. If I say to you, like, could you spend $600 per wedding and have people handle everything for you and then shoot a little bit more? Would you be more profitable if you kept your other job? And you're like, yeah, I actually would be. You know, unless the other answer is, but I'm miserable. You know, if you're miserable, you hate your job, it makes you want to kill yourself, you hate the job so much, you want to just get out, and you would give anything. You would make half as much. Like if you're like, I would make half as much money if I just didn't have to do anything but wedding filmmaking. That's a different discussion.
Yeah.
You know, but I would say the last reason not to quit your day job is don't quit your day job just because you feel pressured by other wedding filmmakers to quit your day job.
Yeah, that's a terrible reason. I think we kind of hit on that in the very beginning. There is this pride thing. There is this like, you know, I'm full-time. I look down on you if you're not full-time. And it's, you know, it's silly. Look, nobody knows. Shoot, we run wedding film school together. I don't know your personal situation. I mean, I know personal details about you, but I don't know what's best for you. Like, that's ridiculous. So,
well, and you also, people lie all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
So like,
yeah, I booked this wedding for $8,000, and then like a week later, I booked this wedding for $9,000. And like it just keeps growing. It's a tall tale.
Yeah, telling you like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, talk is cheap. Show me the receipts, you know.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna.
Show me the expenses.
Yeah, they're not gonna, and that's okay because it's none of your business either.
Yeah,
but,
it doesn't matter.
But you certainly should not be making decisions based on the fact that other people made you feel inferior. Yeah. And I would just like, I don't think you should quit your day job until you can make sure you've cast aside the thought that you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you have any thought in your mind like, oh, what do people think about me? Mm-hmm. When you're making a decision to go full time, rando people on Facebook. Some people on Facebook, by the way, are my real friends. Most people on Facebook, they're like, oh, you're really curt. You're really short on Facebook. I'm like, I don't know these freaking people.
Yeah.
Like, what do I care what they think? You know, and it's like, ultimately, what do you care when anybody that isn't your friends and family who has a direct correlation with your life, what do you care what they think about you? Don't make a decision about becoming a full-time artist without making sure you can overcome that, because you'll make a lot of bad decisions going forward if that's part of your decision tree.
I agree.
So
I've got one more.
Yep.
Now I think we kind of like beat around this, but never directly said it. So I do want to make sure to directly say it, because this has been an important thing, important part of my like mindset and thing that I've really acknowledged in the last 5 to 7 years. And we talked about this briefly on the phone when we were kind of going through
believe it or not, we try to plan this stuff.
We actually do work. I mean, we might sit down, forget everything we talked about, and ramble for an hour, but we do pre-plan some of this. And this is a big one for me, is like when you go full-time and you take on those pressures. We talked about everybody gets into this because they love creating, they love making videos, they love cameras, whatever. When this becomes your full-time job, it is very, very hard to keep that passion, that love for what you're doing. And the way that I best exemplify this, and you can be fulfilled through things you get hired for, but I remember asking you, and you can ask me, and we can say our answer at the same time, which is, when was the last time you picked up your camera and you shot something for fun, for free? And I can't remember the last time.
I don't know that I've ever. Well, no, I used to make tons of skits all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I would always do a bunch of
like
random stuff,
fun stuff like that. But like, maybe 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, know that is a cost. Know that if right now in your life, pre-shooting weddings, you're thinking about shooting weddings more frequently, or maybe you've done a couple, whatever, know that if that is something that brings you joy, right? If I love shooting video, it doesn't have to be wedding specific. I just love doing video work. When that becomes your career, you probably are not going to love it as much. You are going to have to fill that with something else.
Yeah. I think I've always said it this way. When it gets boring, you're probably good.
Yep.
You know? And so I think anything, the joy is a lot of times discovery and learning. And so some people think, oh, I'm full time. And it's like, well, that's not really why it's boring to you. It's just boring because you're so good. You don't have to think through all the challenges. It's not challenging anymore. It's easy. Yeah. You know, that's part of the thing.
And then you got to challenge yourself, I think.
Yes. But so this would be my take on that. Yes, the pure joy of discovery goes away in some ways. Like, picking up your camera and saying, what's going to happen now? Right? Yeah. That was fun. I wonder what it would be like if I used this filter, if I did this, or it's like, I know what it's going to be like. I'm not going to like it, or I will like it at the end. I don't think, though, the joy of challenging yourself as an artist ever goes away if you can expand your thinking a little bit and stop being linear.
I think you can still be challenged as an artist. Absolutely.
Yes. But I think it's even in wedding filmmaking. Like, you could go like, okay, I'm acknowledging right now that it's becoming boring. Mm-hmm. I'm acknowledging right now that it's not inspiring me, and like having that thought, and then saying, and I think you brought this up on the phone, like, either is there something else in my life that I can do that will fulfill me in this way? Because you got to scratch that itch. I do believe that. Or is there something I can do in my career to challenge myself to do something new? This is the number one reason we decided to start a luxury brand.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I was like, well, I want to do something that I'm not sure I can do. I'm not sure if I can sell this to these planners. I'm not sure if I can make a film that is up to par. I'm not sure that we can do something unique. I'm like, we're not using cine lenses because they're inherently better. They are better.
Yeah, they are inherently better, but
they're not inherently more effective at shooting wedding films.
Yeah.
We're just doing it because it's hard and it's fun.
Yeah.
And we wanted to try something challenging. And so I think there is always a place, but like, you got to know that like whatever you're doing today will cease to be challenging eventually, and it will cease to give you as much joy. I think it's a natural progression as an artist. Like, you look at Picasso and all these things. But if you've never been full-time, you probably don't know. You've never had that experience of getting bored with art. But I get bored with art all the time. Like now, I'm like, I don't want to learn. I used to like, I've been a graphic designer. I've been a web designer. I've done print design. I've actually dabbled with signage and architecture design, and I've done a couple buildings. Like, if I get bored, I try a new thing.
Yeah.
So I just try it and try it, and like some things work and some things don't work. Some things work, but I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. It was too hard or too easy or whatever it was. I think you as an artist, that's still part of your journey, but it's going to change, and like you'll cease to find wedding filmmaking. I think you're exactly right, actually. It's like, it will change your relationship with the art that you make in a big way. It really will.
I think that's, and it's just one of those things. It's important to be mindful of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you like, when you think about that, if you think about like the romance going out of the relationship and it just kills you inside, and you're like, I could never pivot, I could never change. I think you should grow up a little bit. I think you should mature, but I also think maybe you're not ready at this time.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean never. It just means maybe right now, maybe next year, maybe 5 years. I don't know.
And that's the other thing. About it. Don't quit your day job, because you can quit your day job later.
Keep
it
another
time.
Now. I don't know.
There's no rush. Like, you set your own timeline on this stuff, and so, and your business will too. And so here's the deal, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Wedding Film School show. We got a lot of stuff on the channel. Wedding filmmaking education, some really cool BTS videos where we actually go through a whole entire wedding day, and we'll show you how we shoot. And but we're going to be talking next episode about you need to quit your day job and how to go full time. And really, we're going to break down 3 ways that you can look at your business, numbers that you can look at, like tangible things that have nothing to do with your opinion, facts that tell you it's probably time, or you could sustain going full time. Yeah. And I think I haven't really heard people do that. So we're excited, because I think we're going to help some people out, do the math, and determine, should I go full-time financially and as a business? Will it work, or will this actually hurt me in a severe way? So I'm excited about that one, Bobby.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
All right, guys, have a great day. Subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, and of course, do the podcast stuff. Thank you guys for being amazing.
Thank you.
Have a great day.